now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! 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 Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
What is up, everybody? Happy Monday. You can tell we're in the festive mood already. We've got the Santa stuff on. We are ready to go. We are the dads, not always on wrestling. And even though you'll see wrestling for a brief moment today, this entire month is no-go on the wrestling because we are kicking off December on this first Monday of the month talking about somebody, and I do say somebody because he's real, damn it, that is near and dear to both of us, to Chittins, to everybody around the world that doesn't stop believing, because we're here to talk, Jay, about the best portrayals on film, TV, media, whatever you want, broadcast media of the one, the only Santa Claus. And when we talked about doing this, I think we talked about doing this last year during our initial relaunch, and it just never really came to fruition because of scheduling shenanigans. But man, we're here. I literally am coming off, as we're recording this, my family's trip to Disneyland for Christmas time, having seen the big guy in person, and I am on a cloud, and I'm ready for this one. I don't know about you, brother.
I'm coming off, as we film this, as everyone knows, we do pre-tapes now just because of your chaotic Disney schedule, but I'm coming off of a weekend of war and binging.
Yes.
Because Saturday was War Game Survivor Series. That tells you when we're filming this, everybody.
Yes.
And then Sunday, I basically binge watched a bunch of stuff to try to get ahead for Renegade's reviews.
Yes. And if you've seen your trailer, you know you're probably already at least waist deep in the Dickens.
Not quite.
Not
yet.
quite. Okay.
Not quite yet. I'm almost there.
Okay.
Like Tiana. I'm almost there.
Yes. You almost. Yes.
But as you alluded to, man, we are here to discuss the portrayals of Santa Claus. And as most everybody knows, that man has so many different names. I mean, Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, Saint Nicholas, Father Christmas, Papa Noel, the little Saint Nick.
Popo Shisho.
Thank you.
Had to do that one.
Damn it. But there's so much to try to take in, and believe it or not, this list was harder for us than we initially thought it would be.
Yeah.
Because we sit there and we're looking at some of these, and while I'm not going to discredit anybody in celluloid history who has put that suit on, there are certain things that we look for when we think of a portrayal of Santa Claus.
Yes.
And there's some people who may have done a decent job, but they just didn't cut the mustard for our standards.
No.
So there's some people that you guys at home may think are just the be all end all, and we just don't feel that they live up to the expectations and the standards set by the people on our list, and especially the people in our top 5.
Yes.
Because there's some very powerful arguments that could be made in the top 5 for any one of them to be number 1.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
We feel there's only one definitive number 1, and we will definitely get to that when we get there.
Yes.
But the subjectivity that we always talk about in our shows,
yes,
there's arguments for any one of them to be the top guy. FTR style, baby.
Yeah, was never more evident than we were trying to compile this. This is a collaborative list. This is a joint list. We are doing 10 through 1, both of us. 10. I am taking the odds because, I'm a little odd, a little off, if you will. And JJ will be starting this out here with number 10 with the evens. But it was a struggle. And we didn't think it would be. We figured, okay, we 1 through 5, bang, boom, done. And 6 through 10, we were like,
now what?
Now what? Right? Yeah, because there's been
and that's part of why we're doing a collaborative list, is because all these people are going to appear on the list anyways.
Exactly.
So we're basically just going to sit here and discuss the same 10 individuals. They just might be shuffled in a different order.
Yeah.
So it just seemed silly to us at the end of the day. So
yeah, and
like
we
Vanilla
realized
Ice, we stopped, collaborated, and listened to each other.
exactly. And we all figure that we're into December. As you're watching this, it's either early evening or mid afternoon for you as you're watching, depending on what part of the country you're watching this. And you're probably already trying to get your shopping done because if you're like us, you want to get that shit done already. You don't want to be in there on the 23rd going and if you're on the 23rd, you're missing open mic night, so you can't do that.
Yeah, no. Christmas shopping is something where the society en masse needs to just take a note from Brian Cage and get their shit in, man.
For real.
Be Larry the Cable Guy and get her done.
I have been grateful to not be out in the retail hysteria because I've been immersed in the House of Mouse. Now, House of Mouse hysteria is a whole other ball of wax, as you and I both know.
Oh, yes, especially this time of year.
Yeah, and I don't know if I was surprised. I was definitely a little flummoxed by how chill both parks were when we were there yesterday. As again, recording this, on the 28th, and then as soon as that crossover ability became a thing at 1:00, oh dear Christ, we were bumper to bumper all day, both parks. So the hysteria is in effect, which is why we wanted to give you guys a start before we get into the Disney topics of the month, which we will talk about at the end here when we do our gratuitous promotionals.
Oh yeah.
We wanted to talk about Santa, man, because Santa's what brings us together. Santa's what brings my family to Disneyland every year because I was always taught, he is real. And what more magical place is there for Santa to get a gauge on the wishes of the children of the world? Right there at the happiest, merriest place on earth. So
there you go. And I mean, if we had done the Disney topics first,
right,
then we would have gotten to this show of Santa on the 26th, and by then Christmas is over.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's the type of thing where Santa could have kicked back, put his feet up with a nice cup of hot cocoa and enjoyed our presentation.
Yes.
But we just felt that would be a disservice to him to do it after his big day.
Exactly.
So that's why we're jumping off the month with it. And then we're going into the wonderful world of Disney, as it were.
Haha, I like what you did there.
Speaking of jumping into things, as Jeff said, I'm going to take care of the evens. Jeff is going to do the odds. So starting things off at number 10.
Yes.
It's definitely one I had to rack my brain a little bit to come up with. But when I did think of it, I was like, yeah, this definitely fits. And it like you said, it works. It's one of those portrayals of Santa where you don't know until the end that he is Santa.
Yeah.
Because throughout the majority of the movie, he just comes off as kind of like this creepy guy who just randomly shows up at the right time. But it's not until the very end that we see Austin Pendleton in the suit as Santa Claus alongside Tim Allen, who we'll get to a lot later. So there we go right there, people. They are not one and the same, at least not all the time.
Not in this movie, anyway. No, Tim Allen in this movie is definitely not Scott Calvin.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
But it's like Austin Pendleton just brings this charm, naivety for Santa, and this just tenderness and sweetness to the role.
Yeah.
Now, wrestling fans may know Austin Pendleton best as the father from Mr. Nanny.
I was going to say.
Alongside Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea.
Yes.
But to me, he's always been Max, the lovable assistant to Doc Hopper in the original Muppet movie.
That's right.
And I always, when I see him, I always think back to Max and everything I've ever seen him in. He has just brought that same charm and tenderness to his roles. And you can't ask for anything better than that when you're discussing Santa Claus.
No, definitely not. He is. It's funny. I had forgotten that he. To be fair, I'd never seen Christopher the Cranks until literally this weekend, and that's
because I made him.
He did. And for me to not have seen a Tim Allen Christmas movie but until now, no, Jeff, that's a bad Jeff.
Right?
It was what it was. I couldn't. It was just so odd for me to think of Tim Allen in a Christmas movie and not be,
the Jolly Cat Man.
Not be happy and jolly, and to see Jamie Lee Curtis doing anything during the holidays except scream and run for her damn life or fight back, it was odd also. But Jamie Lee's awesome too. We all love Jamie Lee on this channel.
And then you've got Dan Aykroyd. You've got Cheech Marin. You've got Jake Busey.
Yeah, it is a solid cast, and I am very much like I was at Fantasmic 2.0, and I waited for a year, and I regretted waiting that long. I regret waiting this long to watch Crank, so I appreciate you kicking me in the butt on this one. And again, Austin Pendleton, Doc Hopper's assistant in Muppet Movie, which I had only seen in the last year or two, the whole way through finally, which was wonderful also. And of course, Mr. Nanny, which I've watched far too much for that movie to need to be watched. Just saying. He is an endearing, lovable personality, whatever he portrays. And that is a heavily coveted quality within Santa Claus.
Absolutely.
So I dig it the most. Now, the next gentleman is going to be the first that is primarily in animated form when he comes to portraying Santa. And actually, the roles we have of him as Santa are in animated form. Let me get my thing in front of me here without my proper glasses. I'm wearing I borrowed somebody else's glasses today because mine are broken. We've got him. He was in the first Easter Rabbit animated film. He was in Rudolph's Shiny New Year, which I know JJ is familiar with, I'm sure. And Nestor, the long-eared Christmas, what the hell does this say? Donkey, which I don't deal with Christmas donkeys after hearing Dominic's song. I don't do that anymore. And Dylan knows that better than anybody.
And we don't deal with any kind of Dominic through the holidays, right, Ray?
No, Dom. That's a bad Dom. Anyway, but we all know this next gentleman. He and I know this next gentleman for a far more important to our Disney hearts role. But in this case, he is Santa Claus in the legendary, original Frosty the Snowman animated feature that played throughout our childhood, primarily on CBS. Paul Frees as Santa. JJ will tell you that this version of Frosty and its sequel, Frosty Winter Wonderland, are the ones that should be shown every year, with all respect to John Goodman and everybody else that's come after Jackie Coogan. But Paul Frees, who, for those of you that don't know, welcomes foolish mortals to the Haunted Mansion as well, as the ghost host.
Yes.
It's so funny when you realize that, and then you listen to him as Santa, and you can't unhear the damn intro in your head. It's like, he's going to welcome us all to the. Oh wait, no, it's Santa. Okay, we're good. Paul Frees is one of those guys who can just make that voice, that deep baritone voice of his, command respect and make a presence. And you hear him all throughout the attraction of the Haunted Mansion, and you hear him every time he is Santa Claus. Like, all right, Santa's here. Business about to pick up. We got a Santa in charge now. So I love that the choice was made to cast him as Santa in all the roles he's played Santa, primarily Frosty. And then, we just love Paul because of the Haunted Mansion. We do dig the mansion. So
Paul Frees is just one of those legendary voice actors from the 60s. I mean, you figure the man is also the voice of Boris Badenoff from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes.
He's the voice of the Burgermeister Meisterburger in Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Very much a similar voice presentation of Boris Badenoff.
Yes.
He's the voice of Burgermeister's assistant Grimsley.
Yes.
Which sounds an awful like another Fab voice that he took care of in the 60s, that of one John Lennon in the Beatles cartoons.
Exactly.
He was also the voice of George in the Beatles cartoons. So you want to talk about how we know him best from being the ghost host. I must correct you just a smidgy there, good
Neither.
sir, because I was introduced to this man in the Beatle cartoons. When I think Paul Frees, I think of John more than I even think of George.
That's fair.
Because he used the same voice, like I said, as Grimsley in Santa Claus is Coming to Town. So much so that the first time I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute. And I had to look it up, and it's like, it's the same guy.
So many voices out of Paul that Mel Blanc himself dubbed Paul the Man of 1,000 Voices, even though Mel Blanc's had that title since the dawn of time. So,
he's also the auctioneer in Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's right. I forgot about that one. Wow, good on you, dude. Poor Disney cast member etiquette here. Especially since
I used to do it to Stat Boy all the time too,
yes.
where I'd throw
kind of bust my balls on
that.
That
didn't even
absolutely.
Remember about Disney, so
yes,
it is what it is, baby.
Well, on the topic of bad relating to Santa, it is your turn, brother.
Yes, and we're going to speak about a Santa that you can't get much badder.
Oh my God.
Than the portrayal of one Billy Bob Thornton in Bad Santa and Bad
God.
Santa 2. Now, I will admit, I have only seen Bad Santa once, maybe twice, and I didn't want to put Billy Bob on the list at first,
right?
Because the movie in of itself is Bad Santa. He is a horrible Santa Claus.
He's terrible.
But he's better than the one in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
And that's really what our discussion
and that is like the be-all, end-all right there. Like, okay. Paul Frees's Santa and Frosty has a couple issues of his own.
Yes.
But like, as bad and as rude and as crude as Billy Bob's is, there was not a YouTube video called Santa Claus is a Dick using video from Billy Bob Thornton and Bad Santa. However, there was, once upon a time, a video called Santa Claus is a Dick on YouTube that used video evidence from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Like every scene Santa's in that movie.
Pretty much.
God.
But Billy Bob... And I don't know, maybe you can jump in and talk a little bit more if you've seen this more. Billy Bob is Billy Bob is Billy Bob.
Yeah.
He brings the portrayal to Santa Claus that you would expect of Thornton. So,
I mean, just the image we ended up using.
Horrible.
No.
At the end of the day, because you expect this from him. Now, if we had seen Tim Allen portray Santa the way Billy Bob portrayed Santa, that's a whole other story. That's a whole other can of worms. Yes. That's a whole other peppermint stick.
Yes. Yeah. That's a whole other kind of poisoning your eggnog there.
But we can give a little bit of a pass to Billy Bob because he's always been that weird and kooky and strange individual, you know?
Yeah.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Yes, exactly. He just, I mean, you have to expect this Billy Bob Santa to be encountered in the bar he's in the image we used by Obi-Wan. You don't want to sell me death sticks. One of those guys. He's just so completely corrupted by everything and everybody, and he does it to everybody around him too. He's just a bad seed, man. And it came down to, okay. I wanted to put Rudolph's Santa. I did because it's such an iconic Santa, but a lot more people seem to tolerate Billy Bob because Santa is such a dick in Rudolph. So it's like, okay, I will concede Billy Bob. And the only reason he's 8 and not, Paul Frees not above him because Billy Bob's Bad Santa movies got so much positive press, surprisingly enough. That's like, okay, we got to give him a little bit more love, and we got to give him a little bit of that. You know what? You took a different approach, dude. We'll golf clap it. We'll golf clap it. Fair enough.
Absolutely. I mean, Santa Claus is one of those characters that, for the most part, doesn't lend itself a lot to creativity and originality with the role,
No.
because there is such a precise description of the way he's supposed to be.
Yes.
So if you step too far out of those bounds, you're treading water, man. Like it is sink or swim.
It is.
And the fact that there was a sequel to this showed that Billy Bob was good enough and drew enough money.
Yep.
God draw money, God draw money. The sales on DVD and VHS and Blu-ray were enough to warrant a return.
So, are you saying that a Christmas movie was commercial successful enough and was such commercialized that it warranted a sequel? Commercialization in Christmas? Blasphemous. Shame on you.
I know, right?
Says the guy who works for the mouse. Or we all huddle around that tree like, ooh, is it going to be when it's time to light it like we're a bunch of lemmings? Anyway, every day. My next one, again, this was hard for both of us, honestly. And mainly because the movie itself and the main actor and character in it has, for lack of a better term, because I use it all the time, grown on us like a fungus. Dude's a Kings fan at the end of the day, so we love him for that, and his undying support for this team that we cherish so much. But man, most of his movie roles are just not there. They haven't been ever.
Yeah.
This one, though, both of us having worked for the Spark at some point or another, we all saw it during our breaks in spurts.
Whether we wanted to or not.
Yes, because it was in the break room on a loop from Black Friday all the way through. So that's how I actually saw Elf for the first time, and not in proper order. So talking about Will Ferrell, of course, and Ed Asner in the role of the problematic Santa Claus, because his sled takes a big dookie and just has, the Christmas spirit has to be revitalized in New York. Gee, thank you, Ghostbusters, for that. Lord, I'm sorry, it is what it is. And man, maybe I'm not sorry. And of course, Will Ferrell. This is the one Will Ferrell movie where his character is endearing enough that you almost forget it's Will at times, because he's so naive to the world around him, because he was raised as a elf, or in the elf community, because he was abandoned and found by the Santa and the family of elves at the North Pole. So I found it more than ironic that in the Santa Claus 3, and now the series that's airing right now, which you're doing tremendous reviews on, by the way, so pause, that originally Cal was named Buddy Claus, because Buddy the elf was a thing before Santa Claus 3 was released. And I found that a cute little thing from Disney, like, okay, we acknowledge how awesome Elf is, because it was. When I finally did see it the whole way through, I loved it in spite of my dang self. And Ed Asner, who has been the indomitable grouch, he hates spunk, was a wonderful Santa. And it was just enough of a cameo that it stuck with me, as had Santa not been a major part of it as far as throughout the story, and Will's buddy's undying love of Santa, and just the audacity of this person sitting on a throne of lies as the mall Santa or the store Santa, Ed's coming in and letting Buddy see that he was really there kind of saved the movie for me. It really did, because it was a struggle for most of it. So I applaud Ed Asner, and that's why he's on our list.
Yeah, Will Ferrell is one of those movies where I can honestly sit here and say I have never gone to see a Will Ferrell movie because of Will Ferrell.
Mm-hmm.
I go to see Will Ferrell movies because of his supporting cast.
Yes, exactly.
Because of guys like John C. Reilly and Chris Kattan and Ed Asner.
Yep.
And Paul Rudd and Steve
And in this
Carell.
one, yeah,
you know,
and this one, James Caan. So, yeah.
And all the people that he always has alongside of him to play off of.
Yes.
That is why I see Will Ferrell movies.
Exactly.
And it's sad because I sit here and I can honestly say that I like a lot of his movies, but he's not the reason I like them.
Yeah, his being a Kings fan has definitely righted the ship of my appreciation of Will Ferrell, because prior to that, I was like, good dude.
Yeah.
Post SNL.
That brings us to basically the halfway point. And at number 6 is a portrayal of Kris Kringle that we're going to see come again a little bit later, just from a different actor.
Yes.
We're discussing at this point Richard Attenborough's portrayal from the 1994 version of Miracle on 34th Street.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest, up until this weekend where we're filming this, I had never seen this movie.
Right.
I had been so steadfast against it because there's one Miracle on 34th Street, in my opinion, and that's the original, which, again, spoiler alert, it is coming in the top, the rest of our list. But
yes.
I was suggested by Meacham that I see this movie.
Yeah.
This is what kind of triggered him having to watch Christmas with the Cranks, because he throws at me, what, you don't have 2 hours in the course of 5 days to watch this movie?
Yeah,
I'm like, bro, I've got the holidays, I've got family time, I'm trying to watch movies for Renegade's reviews, I'm supposed to have my daughter this weekend, we've got war games, and you want me to slip in this movie?
Huh.
Much to his liking, though, I was able to sneak it in on Thanksgiving Day. Well, what better day to watch Miracle on 34th Street, honestly, because the movie begins with the Thanksgiving Day parade.
Exactly.
And then goes through to Christmas Day.
Yes.
But I will admit that there was, again, this tenderness and this charm to Attenborough's performance, and I enjoyed a couple of the changes they made to the movie. Instead of Kris Kringle singing Dutch to the little girl, he's doing sign language,
which was wonderful.
So there's little bitty differences, little modernizational twists.
Yes.
And I found myself enjoying it, even though I didn't want to.
Cool. I'm glad, man.
It's I have no problem now sitting down and watching this.
Yay.
It's still not my go-to of them.
Oh, no.
But I'm not as Ebenezer Scrooge about it as I was prior to watching it.
It is a solid alternate if you can't seem to find the original on streaming somewhere. And if you can't, you're not looking hard enough, by the way.
Which I don't have that issue anyways, because I have the DVD Blu-ray of the original, so I don't have to worry if it's not on streaming.
Well, no, but if you're
massive collection.
Yeah. Well, but if you're on the road and you get a little bit, you need a little miracle love and you can't find it, there you go. Although I'll tell you what, this one rotates in and out far less than the original as far as being steady somewhere. So this one's so difficult to find too. If you don't, I think it's regularly on Netflix, but I think that's where it usually even filters out there. The original this time of year hits Disney, and then it's almost always on Amazon Prime. So it's a little challenging.
There you go. So now that we're at the halfway point, we do have some honorable mentions. We would not be the dads, not always on wrestling, if we didn't give a little bit of a salute, a little bit of an homage to those who have played Santa in film.
Yes.
First and foremost, we've got Hulk Hogan, Paul White, and Jeff's favorite wrestler of all time,
Oh yeah.
Billy
Oh,
Boy
yeah.
Goldberg,
Yeah.
in Santa with Muscles, Jingle All the Way, and Santa's Sleigh, respectively.
Yeah.
And
I'm just gonna
arguably,
Go ahead.
now keep in mind, I still haven't seen Jingle All the Way yet, start to finish.
Oh my goodness.
So arguably, I say Santa's Sleigh is the best out of all these.
Oh
Only because I haven't seen Jingle All the Way. Now that may change in
yeah.
time,
I can almost get
but for all the bad that Santa's Sleigh is, and it is pretty bad, it rides that fine line between so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Especially the opening kill scene where he just comes in and guts all those celebrities. Chris Kattan, Rebecca Gayheart, Fran Drescher, and more.
Yes.
I mean, just to see the nasally nanny get it.
Yeah.
That right there, Goldberg, thank you. I don't have to hear that
Right.
voice the rest of the movie.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll give Bill that pass. I'll give Bill that one.
Rebecca Gayheart gets done. I think the only time she got done up worse than that was 90210.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh,
That's,
why you do?
Debatable. That's debatable though, depending on what you're in the mood for. Because one's a car bomb, I think.
No.
No, it was an ambush, right?
Yeah, it was a freaking ambush drive. They blew her away from the car, man. Oh my! Oh,
and this is like a gutting.
Oh, I hate you, Jay. Fuck you, dude.
I mean,
oh God. Oh. Yeah.
And then Hogan is Hogan. Like, I'm surprised we didn't see Santa do this a couple times in the movie.
No, he did later when he was Hogan guest hosting Raw, but yeah, Santa with Muscles. That is one of the few things you will not, see me bleed out red and yellow for, because my God, is it bad? Holy balls, it's so bad. Santa's Sleigh, like you said, it rides that line like a cheap whore, but it does ride the line. And the irony of an angry Jew playing Santa is not lost on anybody there, is it? Just throwing it out there.
And lest we forget Emily DeRaven, our lovely and precious Belle from Once Upon a Time, as the lead's girlfriend.
Yeah,
we can't hate on a movie with Belle. I'm just saying, like,
well, we can. We just have to recognize
she already had to deal with one monster in Rumple. Now she's got to deal with Goldberg.
Yeah, well, I will gladly take our beloved Mr. Gold as opposed to Mr. Goldberg any day. As far as Jingle All the Way, you need to see the whole way through, dude. I'm telling you what, it is a solid cast. You've got Arnold, of course, in the lead as the often absent father. It's a holiday cliche. It is what it is. Very much Scott Calvin-ish. Scott Calvin-ish, not Calvin-ish, the whole other genre of movies.
But Hartman, you got Sinbad.
You got Rita Wilson as Arnold's wife in the movie. You've got Phil Hartman as the creepy, obnoxious neighbor in one of his last roles, and he's just so good in this.
Vern Troyer.
Vern Troyer is also part of the scene with Paul White. Paul White's just kind of there, but he made such a huge, legitimately cameo that we couldn't not include it on our little honorable mentions section here of wrestlers that actually appeared in film and TV outside of wrestling as Santa Claus. Now, if you're a fan of the hardcore and the extreme, and no, we're not talking about Santa and Triple X movies because we ain't doing that on this show. God darn it, no, that's a whole other genre. Nope, I ain't going there as an ambassador. Thank you very much. I will say that Ted DiBiase's introduction of Santa Claus, like, I can't even say it without a straight face anymore. And here we are, damn near 30 years later, I still get the obnoxious chuckles. So brief history. DiBiase and his role as the lead of the $1 Million Corporation, already retired by then, obviously, in full managerial mode, had claimed he had purchased Santa Claus service. He everybody's got a price $1 million man, even Santa Claus. And Savio Vega, being the good Christmas boy that he was, stood up for Santa's, reputation, and then Santa blindsides him. And off comes the wig and the white beard and the hat, and there emerges Xanta, Xanta Claus.
Better known the world over as Balls Mahoney.
Yes, Santa's brother from the South Pole, who had been shunned all his life as a result of being from the South Pole. Yes, that was the storyline gimmick in 1995. You notice you didn't see him much past January 1st, 1996. We love you, Mahoney. We miss you. And we're sorry on behalf of the WWF. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was bad.
It was bad. On the complete flip side of Balls Mahoney as Santa Claus, we have
another hardcore icon.
Another hardcore icon who, even appeared as Saint Mick with his regular face in ECW, Mick Foley. I mean, I have said for years, Jay, that Mick Foley is a primary inspiration and, reason for me wanting to become an ambassador in the first place. I learned the term Santa Ambassador from Mick and all his travels as Santa, including getting this movie off the ground and getting the producers, people behind it and everything. And then his fifth memoir, because he's obviously needs more memoirs than Churchill. He even says that in the book, is all about his complete journey from, being Mick Foley to being Saint Mick, Santa Claus. And I would hope at some point in my lifetime that if I can be a 10th as good and pure a Santa Claus as Mick Foley is, then I've done something right with my life and done something right within the universe.
Yeah, I mean,
he's such a beautiful soul anyway.
Jolly old Saint Nicholas, as it were. Like,
yes.
He is a human Muppet.
He really is. With all Triple H, thank you for that one.
He is, and he just embodies those things 365 days a year.
He had a period where he was wearing a Santa shirt every day on Twitter. He made a thing of it for a year to help promote that movie. And because he just loves Christmas and Santa Claus so much so that when they went to Disneyland or Disney World, I think on one of their family trips, they got a private meeting with Santa. So much so that Santa, or Mick as Santa, got to sit in the big giant throne at Santa's Village in New Hampshire, the original Santa's Village.
That was all part of the movie too. It's just,
it's beautiful.
It is.
I love the documentary so much. It's such a good telling of the wide array of characters within the ambassador world. I recommend the movie. I always have, but it's definitely an eye opener.
Yeah.
For some of these characters that are doing the ambassador gigs. So fair warning in advance.
Yes.
Speaking of fair warning, here's where our subjectivity kind of these are the guys.
Yeah, this is where it lies.
And with that being said, we're going to go into our number 5 here. More recent.
Just a second, Jeff.
Okay.
I'm getting a message. We're sorry, folks, but we need to interrupt the broadcast for a very special presentation.
That's working.
I'm pretty sure I have it working now. We're having a little signal trouble here at the North Pole, folks. My apologies. I don't want to take too much of the dad's time. I just wanted to remind everybody that there still is time to contact Santa Meach at the North Pole with all of your Santa visit needs, be it virtual, be it in person, be it call or text. That's right, you can call or text Santa this year. So head over to the links provided here on this card and enjoy the rest of your show, enjoy the rest of your holidays, and Merry Christmas! Ho, ho, ho!
Oh, well, cool. Appreciate that. Thank you, Santa. Okay, number 5.
I mean, you when the big man calls,
yeah, for real,
you have to answer. I mean,
yes. Yes. Yeah. Again,
there are two people that I will allow any time of day to interrupt this broadcast: Santa Claus and the president.
that's right. And
and that's not to get into political discussion. We're definitely not here to do that on our Santa Portrayals show.
No.
But when the big man calls, you answer.
That's right.
Jeff, I apologize for having to cut you off there.
No.
Go back into your number 5.
No, please. I mean, hell, like you said, Santa wasn't a dick, so we can take his call there. So number 5 is a very, and I mean very recent entry into the Santa lore, if you will. But man, he came out swinging with both peppermint sticks when we did the Christmas Chronicles and the Christmas Chronicles 2 with his wife, because of course, why not have Goldie Hawn be the Mrs. Claus to Kurt Russell?
Absolutely. I mean, that was honestly one of the things that endeared me to the first one the most. Is you sit there, you're watching Kurt Russell do his thing, you're watching him as Santa Claus, and you get sucked in.
Yeah.
And then the post-credit scene, and you see Goldie Hawn as Mrs. Claus awaiting him, and you're like, "That's slick."
Yeah, that
slick.
was.
And then they made her a bigger part of the sequel, but
very well done. It is definitely it entered the rotation almost immediately. Like the minute I saw it, I'm like, "Oh, that goes on the list every year." Thank you very much, because it was believable. You could believe that could happen to the big guy. So, and part 2 is just as endearing. It's so they're both so good. I'm glad that it's funny. People, I am not a movie buff near the level of you by any means. I will totally concede that. But I don't really think Kurt Russell really has a definitive, okay, that is Kurt Russell's like role. Like he's done a lot of stuff, and people say, "Oh, well, what about Snake? What about?" And it's like, okay, I can get with that. But for me now, Kurt Russell will always be the when reality hits you in the ass, Santa Claus, because he had a rough go of it for those 2 hours.
I mean, for me, Kurt Russell will always be defined as Wyatt Earp.
That's fair too.
But to call that his definitive role, I mean, you figure Val Kilmer stole the movie right out from under him.
Sure, she did.
So I definitely would concede that Snake Plissken, from Escape from New York and Escape from LA, definitely right up there is like his definitive roles.
Yes.
But Santa Claus might just be a close second for him now.
Time will tell.
Especially considering the fact that, again, it did good enough numbers on Netflix that they ordered a sequel almost immediately.
Yeah.
There was only a year or two delay between part 1 and part 2.
And I figure the ultimate fate of Kurt Russell's Santa Claus is to be determined. It's literally less than 2 years old, because it premiered during the pandemic year. So, it's still a very, very much a baby on the list of Santa lore. So I think it deserves a spot already. And that's why it's here at number 5.
At number 4 is a man who is best known for one specific portrayal of Santa Claus, but he's been around.
Yeah, a little bit.
Most frequently in Hanna-Barbera cartoons. He's visited the crew from the Jellystone Lodge. He's visited Bedrock. But it was when he talked to Cindy Brady.
Oh my God.
That he won everybody's heart.
Oh, yes.
Hal Smith, probably best known the world over as Otis the Drunk from the Andy Griffith Show.
That's the best part of this.
But you sit there and you watch his portrayal, and again, I'm specifically speaking about the Brady Bunch one.
Yes.
But you watch his portrayal alongside Susan Olsen as Cindy Brady.
Mm-hmm.
And here's this little girl that doesn't want anything for herself for Christmas.
Right.
She is like 6 years old, and is thinking of her mom. She wants mom to be able to sing on Christmas morning because, for those of you that forget the story, she has the laryngitis.
She has laryngitis.
And Santa tells her that her mom will get her voice back. And then Mike Brady has to confront him, like, how do you promise a little girl that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you not?
Yeah, look,
This
mister.
girl wants nothing for herself. How do you not tell her that everything's going to be okay? And then to see Florence Henderson, Carol Brady, wake up on Christmas morning and she's humming and she can sing and she's got her voice back. You know, he's better than a Dr. Daddy. He's Santa Claus.
Oh my God, why you gotta do that? Oh, I was gonna say that line alone just is it, like right there.
For
like,
real.
oh,
I mean, and like I said, again, you know, you go back to that image and you can see him and Fred Flintstone. You can see Santa and the Three Bears. You can see him with Yogi and Boo Boo, Huckleberry Hound and Snagglepuss, and Quick Draw McGraw, and Augie Doggy and Doggy Daddy and Casper. And like, the man got around. But you can definitely argue that is his definitive Santa role.
Oh, without a doubt. How as Santa, and again, I think he's probably, other than the gentleman I'm going to talk about next, I think I won't say definitive. He's definitely the most prolific animated Santa because he got around, like you said, as did Paul Frees. But I think Hal jumped around even more than Paul did. But God, yeah, a little inside baseball here. Susan Olsen is a Santa Clarita resident. At least she was when I met her. And we talked about that because we both had kids at that point. By the time I got to run into her at a Cold Stone, ironically enough, and we talked about it. And I said, ever since I was little and saw that, and she goes, in reruns. I go, don't age yourself or anything, but yeah, okay, in reruns. I said, to this day, that line that you gave to Robert Reed just melts my heart. She goes, it melts my kids' hearts, and that's what makes it great for me. I'm like, damn.
Exactly.
Right on. On.
That right there is the be-all, end-all. When you can melt the next generation.
Yep. The one I have on Very Brady Christmas, which is essentially a sequel to that episode, is the fact that Susan's not in it. Because she was on her honeymoon when they were filming that show, and they couldn't just freaking wait for her. Like, ugh. That was a producer's thing, not a Susan thing. So I can't be mad at her for that, obviously. Number 3, I think as much as I'm mad at you for getting to do who's number 2, I think you're mad at me for who I get to do for number 3.
That's fair.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I firmly believe this is the definitive single appearance, if I'm not mistaken, in an animated role as Santa Claus, because it tells his origin story. And he was such an iconic voice as Santa that many years later, he kind of was Santa again. Kind of. At the very end of a very Grinch-like cameo as a guest star on Full House.
Oh, yeah.
We are talking about the man who claimed once upon a time that he was the inspiration for the name behind the mouse. He wasn't. Mickey Rooney. I mean, Santa Claus is Coming to Town was, I will admit this in front of the world, I'll even go on camera to admit it, I had not seen this Santa Claus movie until the whole way through. Until I moved in with him. I had never seen it, and as somebody who has loved Santa Claus maybe as much as I love Mickey Mouse, and that's a big if there, but it's a big claim, having not seen that start to finish was a crime.
Yeah.
Put me in Christmas jail.
For real.
Have the ELFS save me, but put me in Christmas jail. Because it is so good. You've got 100%. Mickey, without question. even during the Chris episodes. Damn you, you horseman, you. Anyway, and yes, Mikey T, he is a horseman. I'm gonna make it happen by the end of the year. I'll do my best. If you didn't see Open Mic Night last week, you should. Anyway, post Survivor Series, I should say. But yeah, this movie, I mean, it is, as far as animated movies go, it's the best origin story for Santa I think I've ever seen. It just tells it so well. And it all within the Santa universe, which is much complicated. Let's not kid ourselves. It makes the most sense. Every thread of his evolution into the jolly man with the white hair and beard, just it fits.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, you got Paul Frees in the villain role, which, you know, Paul Frees is very multi-talented. He can do a hero, he can do a villain, he can do it all. So God bless him. And like you said, all the voices that are in this movie, just everything works, everything clicks, start to finish. And then to come back and whatever it was, the last season, I think it was, a Full House, and be this curmudgeonly toy store owner who has no family on Christmas Eve because they've been not what's the word I'm looking for, not ostracized, but they've estranged. Thank you. They've grown apart over the years, so that when Michelle brings Jesse to the store to exchange something, and Jesse, typical, Jesse bravado smarts off, Mickey Rooney locks them in and tries to ruin their Christmas because his Christmas is forever ruined. And instead, as Michelle Tanner do, melts this Grinch's heart away to, increase it 3 sizes, if that makes any sense. I'm melting away yet increasing sizes because I am not good at math or physics, but I am good at Christmas stories, damn it.
He went to the Scotty Steiner School of Mathematics.
Yes, another wrestler. There you go. One more wrestler thread in here. We're good for the day. Yeah. If you take the, never mind. I'm not going to do percentages because it'll look ugly. But of course, Full House. It's on a Disney network, so it has to end with a happy ending. So we get Mickey Rooney coming in with a Santa bag over his shoulder with the Santa outfit on, as you saw in the little crap there. And then as the family's celebrating the happy ending of the episode, Jesse brings Mickey Rooney the phone and what's this for? And I think you know. And Mickey Rooney's character calls and speaks to his granddaughter for the first time. Grandpa, Merry Christmas. And you see him just smile, that gigantic Mickey Rooney smile that only Mickey Rooney can smile.
That's right. That only Mickey can do.
And it was like, it's one of those, like, as if that whole season didn't make you want to bawl like an idiot enough. That one in particular, and the finale, of course, with the thing with the horse riding. But that episode just, who's cutting onions? You guys suck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna interject here, and I'm just gonna touch on 2 things you said.
Okay.
Number one, it's not the only time Mickey did an animated Santa. He actually was Santa for Rankin Bass in multiple productions.
Oh.
He also was Santa in The Year Without a Santa Claus with the Heat Miser and the Snow Miser. And he's also Santa in Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July.
Well, there you go.
So his portrayal of Santa in this was definitive enough that he was the Rankin Bass legitimate Santa for quite a few years.
Yes, as he should be.
And I'm gonna hot take here. You say that this may be one of the most definitive origins. I say it is the definitive origin.
Oh, yeah.
There is no other Santa Claus origin story to me that makes sense,
right,
other than this one. Because between Rankin Bass's storytelling and Fred Astaire providing the narration,
yes,
like you said, you hit every point.
It's true.
The man is born Claus. He's taken to the Burgermeister's home, and the Burgermeister wants no part of it, so they get rid of him. He ends up at a family of elves named Kringle. known for their red suits and their white beards. They are toy makers. Then you find Jessica, and you meet Mrs. Claus, and you see how their story develops. And the Winter Warlock doesn't have much magic left, except for a little bit of feed that makes reindeer fly. And then the move to the North Pole, where they build a castle and a workshop, which look awful reminiscent to the ones we see in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Where he's a dick.
Like he was in Full House. So, all comes full circle here. I'm just saying.
It's a circle of life, kids. Circle of life.
So it just hits every bullet point so beautifully. The toys in the stockings. Everything here just makes so much sense.
Yes, it is.
And for as much as this was the definitive origin story to Santa Claus,
yes,
number 2 gives us the definitive story of how Santa can continue to be. As we watch Tim Allen take over the role in The Santa Claus. And then, of course, there is the Santa Claus 2, the Mrs. Claus, and the Santa Claus 3, the Escape Claus.
Yes.
But for everything that Rankin Bass does in Santa Claus is Coming to Town and defining the origin,
yes,
these movies, through Tim Allen's portrayal and his side cast, David Krumholtz as Bernard, you've got Spencer Breslin as Curtis, and F. Curtis. That's a whole other tangent that we've been on before.
Yes, a little bit.
But with all of that, you get the intricacies as to how Santa can continue to be.
Yes.
They say it so eloquently in the series. Santa Claus is Santa Claus, always and forever. He's a continuum.
Yes.
There are no past Santa Clauses.
No.
And just the same, there are no past Mrs. Clauses.
Nope.
What is there now is what there is. Once they step down, it's done so in such a time that it can keep on continuing, and there is never a gap in the lore. Period.
It is very much a Disney branded thing. One of the first, inside baseball again, one of the first things they ask us at training, how many Mickey Mouses are there? One. That's the answer. Because there is only one Mickey Mouse. Especially when you're on stage. There is only one Santa Claus. There's only one Mrs. Claus. Everything else is gravy. Or, figgy pudding or whatever. Whatever.
Now, those of us that are really in the know that that is a crock.
Of course.
That there is more than one, especially at the parks.
Yes.
But
Santa's
the illusion is such.
Yes.
That there is only one.
Yes. And that is how we as a brand maintain the magic. The North Pole maintains the magic by having the succession of Santa be in place at all times. And that is why this, in spite of number 1 being what it's going to be, do we all not know at this point?
I was going to say, if nobody has figured it out yet, then thank you very much. We'll see you in a week for Disney songs.
Yeah. But this will always be my favorite Christmas thread, Christmas story, Christmas, the series, whatever you want to call it, because number 1, it's Tim Allen, who I've always adored. Number 2, it's Disney, which even before I have to be the spiel, I have always been the spiel of Disney.
It is hands down the greatest depiction of Santa Claus for the modern era.
Yep.
But if you want to talk about all time, Jeff.
Yes. And again, this is where my Santa fandom falters. And I say that because, again, another one I had not seen. I hadn't seen it at all until this guy. Honest to God, I hadn't. And even then, if I did, it was the colorized version that they put out all those years later. But this movie, this Santa, this person, this cast, golly, this cast, in Miracle on 34th Street from 1947, and Edmund Gwenn leading the way. And look at that sly look on Natalie Wood's face, by the way, as Susan. She's looking at him like, I don't know about you, but you're charming and you're endearing, so I might give you an opportunity to make me a believer, which it works. But man, Edmund Gwenn was such the best Santa of all time that he actually went out into Macy's during the run of this movie and actually did the thing in the chair. That's how much the world believed in him as Santa Claus. We all know the gimmicks. We all know the magic. We all know whatever. Even in 47, okay, it's a guy playing Santa Claus. But you step into Macy's in New York City, in Times Square, and you walk into that center stage area, and there's Santa on the chair, and for that 5 minutes or whatever you're in line, suspension of disbelief. Wrestling talk on the show, I grant you. But damn it if it doesn't apply with Edmund Gwenn. Mm-hmm. He is Kris Kringle. He is Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. There is no... We very rarely say no subject, no argument. We're always subjective on this show. We try very hard to maintain that. But I said it off air to him, and I'll say it in front of the world now. I will die on the hill with a stake of holly in my heart that Edmund Gwenn is the greatest portrayal of Santa Claus, period, end of story.
Yeah. Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
Yes. That's from this movie. So it's such a complete, wonderful story when you think about the highs and lows of this. We did talk about Richard Attenborough earlier, so I do want to kind of thread this into our number one discussion. I think the Richard Attenborough thing was only because it went a little too down the dark path. Like, you actually mentioned to me that having the drunk Santa come back in Richard Attenborough's version and continue with the story was something you enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I thought that made it a little bit too, for 1994, acceptable. If they'd done that thread in 47, they'd been like, I don't know, that's a little much.
Well, the way I look at it is you have to have that moment that sends Chris to the nut house.
Right.
That gets him committed.
Yeah.
No. In this one, it's the Macy's therapist that's constantly questioning him.
Yes.
And calling his believability out.
Right.
So to get that rise out of Chris, because he's always messing with Alfred, the lovely janitor, who does Santa portrayals himself.
Yes.
It makes sense to get it that way here.
Yeah.
But you've got to get that moment in the 94 version. So having that continuation in the Santa that got embarrassed publicly at the parade,
right,
come back for Hans's dark side,
right,
and just lure Chris into that moment so that Chris attacks him. I thought that was great storytelling, because you can understand why that Santa would do it, because he lost his job.
Yep.
Publicly embarrassed on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands of people lining up the streets of New York to see this parade, taken away by police. Yeah, he deserved his revenge in a sense.
Right.
And granted, Chris still got his moment at the end, as we know will happen.
Of course.
But I thought that was a great way to tie it back, because that's one of the loose ends.
Yes.
And every other portrayal of miracles. Whatever happened to that Santa?
Right.
They answered that question.
Yes, that was good. I do very much like, and again, we're trying to talk about the portrayals of Santa himself, but we're talking about the thread of the story here. When you have to retell a story and try to put a different spin on it, the way that Santa is exonerated and absolved of whatever, and actually proven to be the definitive Santa, both versions do a very good job of having that come down. You figure 1994. Remember, the world was not a happy place in the mid-90s.
No.
So for that judge to say, if we as a government can place our faith in God and trust on our currency, then why can't we put our faith and trust in a person who's actually sitting here we can see and is claiming to be Santa Claus? If we can put our faith in God, why can't we put our faith in Santa Claus? He's sitting right freaking here.
Pretty much.
By the same token, the United States Post Office,
branch of the federal government.
Yeah. Like or dislike their service, especially in the last 3 years.
And it only gets worse this time of year.
Yeah, right? I loved that a simple throwaway discussion in the middle of one post office about these dead letters they've got downtown saves the day.
Yep.
It's like, he's getting on trial. Let's just go bring these letters to him anyway. We're not doing anything with him.
We know where to find him.
You know where to find him. Yeah, he's sitting there on trial, or at a hearing, whatever. And man, it was a great thread.
Mm-hmm.
But both Edmund Gwynn, Richard Attenborough, and Ed Wynn also in the role later on. All the guys that have been in the miracle story, their conviction as Santa and their belief in themselves and their steadfast refusal to allow the therapist, the bogus Santa, whoever the antagonist would be, to not discredit the children of New York, the friend of his that works at the store as Santa, to not discredit the innocent is what Santa's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Santa can bring the gifts to your kids. Santa can, be this symbol. Santa is the protector of the innocence of children of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Edmund Gwynn, for us, is the definitive on-screen Santa Claus. And much like my dad says, that's our opinion, and it should be yours.
That's why in the Santa Claus,
yes,
as people stop believing, the magic starts disappearing.
Yeah. That is the basis
and
for
as
this
the magic disappears, he loses his power.
Yep.
So Santa being that person that has to protect the belief and the innocence, because as long as you're innocent, you're going to believe. I mean, we still believe.
Oh, yeah. We just saw him a few minutes ago.
So.
Right there in front of the world. So.
That was a heck of a list.
And even for collaborative, even with talking about the guy we're talking about, a little over an hour. I'm proud of our damn selves.
Well, it'll be about an hour and a half by the time we get through the shills, because there are shills aplenty.
Yeah, because we only early December. We got a long month. We got 25 days, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Or 26.
I mean,
we're not quite
I saw that you had previously loaded some things. I added some others.
I did see that. Yes, that's awesome.
For those of you that missed it today, go back and check out my review of Santa with Muscles.
Yes.
Tomorrow, I am Santa Claus McFoley. You talked about how there wasn't going to be any wrestling talk this month. I am doing an entire week of Christmas movies with wrestlers, Meacham.
That's fair. That's fair. That's true.
Wednesday will be Jingle All the Way.
You are gonna watch it, yay!
Thursday, the sequel, featuring Santino Marella alongside Larry the Cable Guy.
Sequel.
Friday will be Santa's Sleigh with Bill Goldberg. Saturday, Mike the Miz Mizanin and Soraya Bevis, better known as Paige, in
Yes.
Santa's Little Helper.
Yes.
And then new release Saturday, Freddie Prinze Jr. in Christmas with You, the Netflix original movie,
Yes.
which
By the
of
way-
course, Freddie Prinze Jr. was at one point a WWE creative writer, hence how he ties into the week with wrestlers.
I can
And
even
it's a new release Saturday.
I can even do a Kevin Bacon thing with his co-star in that image there. That's Amy Garcia, correct?
Yes.
Amy Garcia is very good friends with April Brooks, who also, as we know, is AJ Lee, executive producer of WoW, and former WWE Divas champion.
And the wife of the voice of the voiceless.
Yeah, he's now Bruno on the show, as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, we saw him earlier. Santa is watching you, Meacham.
I know.
Do
I
not
know
get
this.
put on the naughty list because of your thoughts of Phil Brooks.
There you go.
I have one of those too.
I know you do. That's why I didn't wear it, because I thought you would.
I had to go with the one
know,
of Kermit wearing Santa hat.
That's
know?
fair. That's fair. That's fair. But yes.
So
yeah.
after all of that, as I said, Saturday we've got Santa's Little Helper. Saturday we've got Christmas with You. Saturday we are losing our freaking minds
Yes.
because it's Ring of Honor Final Battle and NXT Deadline
Right.
and Open Mic Night.
Are you just gonna air Renegade's reviews at like 9 a.m. just to not have overlap?
It depends what time Final Battle is going to go live.
We keep hearing 1 o'clock, so yeah.
So,
we'll see.
Then I can probably do 12 and 12:30 respectively.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
But the next time you will see the two of us together again, doing a dad's Not Always on Wrestling, it'll be January.
Well,
Because the rest of this month, we're going to be joined by special guests
yes.
throughout our presentations.
Yes.
As we will be discussing the Disney greatest songs. I omitted soundtrack on purpose there because some of these songs aren't on soundtracks, but they are, Disney songs nonetheless. But we have broken everything down into 3 eras. Part 1, essentially the Walt era.
Yes.
From 1928 and Steamboat Willie all the way up through 1970 and the Aristocats and everything in between. Part 2, 1971 to 2000, the Dark Ages and the Renaissance.
But our time truly embracing the fandom as kittens.
Yes, because you figure I was born in 76 and you were born in
83. Yes.
So
almost 7 years apart.
And then the grand finale, if you will, from 2001 until now. Strange World, the newest release, is the last qualifying movie for that era.
Yes. And that it's funny. I hadn't really heard a lot about Strange World until you mentioned it for the first time on this show. And then the posters is everywhere I go. Even here at home in Santa Clarita, they everywhere.
The Disney marketing machine does not fail. It may lie dormant for a little while.
Oh yeah.
But as soon as it's time to get a jolt to those electrodes, man, the monster is loose.
Yes, we both know this very well. Even before I sat there at TDA for a full day and got my shizzit. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. So.
But that's not all, everybody.
Oh, nay. We have more.
On Friday, December 23rd, the eve of Christmas Eve special of Open Mic Night. Traditionally, Open mic night is held on Saturdays, but Saturday is Christmas Eve.
Yes.
So we don't want to be hosting a Christmas Eve edition of Open Mic Night when we all should be at church services with our families, getting ready for the man who we've discussed for the better part of the last hour
Yes.
to come and visit us.
Yes.
So we decided to come together on Friday, and for roughly 2 hours, set in stone, there's not going to be none of this 3-4 hour show stuff. A 2-hour special. We are going to discuss Christmas. There will be no wrestling talk unless a super chat is sent in about something. And speaking of super chats on that show, for a $5 super chat, we will spin the wheel of carols, and everybody, including Noah Foster,
that's right,
will sing along to one of these public domain songs.
A cappella style.
Yes, a cappella. So, trying to get everyone at the same tempo is going to be a joy in of itself. But we've got Deck the Halls. We've got Hark the Herald Angels Sing. We got Jingle Bells, Joy to the World, Oh Christmas Tree, Silent Night, 12 Days of Christmas, Up on the Housetop. And of course, we wish you a Merry Christmas.
Now,
and while we are discussing Christmas, don't forget to book Santa Meach.
Yeah, baby. That's it. So again, the fees have remained the same, but this year we have a new feature because you can call or text jolly old Saint Nick at the number at the bottom right hand of your screen there, and he will answer. He will be there to take your calls, take your texts. No pictures, please, especially through the text, because Santa has a Mrs. Claus, and we need to be seeing that. For the love of God, people, behave yourselves. It's Christmas time, damn it. I'm watching. I'm always watching. Anyway, as he said earlier, he sees you when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're awake doing naughty things. So shame on you if you're doing that. But everything else, call, text, and you can book Santa for an appearance relatively within, LA, Orange, and I'll even go, out like San Bernardino and San Diego counties. Anything beyond the greater Los Angeles area, for lack of a better term, it's going to cost you more than a virtual visit's worth. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So virtual visits are great. I've had virtual clients for 3 years now, and I have no complaints. I was part of a family gathering during the pandemic year because that's all we could does back then, and they loved it. So,
and then of course,
call, give me a text, yes.
And then of course, after Christmas, it is New Year's Eve.
Yes,
and we will be doing the open mic coast to coast New Year's countdown.
Yes,
where we will be on the air beginning at 8:00 Pacific, 11 Eastern. And we will be live through both coasts.
Oh, yeah.
New Year's ball drop.
We are going to count down through all 4 time zones because trying to do it all day, we will be like, I got to make money if I'm at Disney. I can't be going to the computer every 11:59, y'all. I got to make my mazzani. So.
And the Hebe man, James Hebert, has promised us some highlight videos. Some greatest bits, if you will. I think he's going to have to do like multiple videos because I've told him you can only get 10-minute videos uploaded to the stream.
Yes.
And I'm afraid because some of our bits go like 2-3 minutes.
I know.
You don't want to chop them up because then you lose context.
Right.
So you got to leave like the whole 2 to 3 minutes, but that just means you only get like 3 or 4 bits per video.
Well,
so we're going to have to throw multiple of those throughout the entire show. But
we'll figure we're going to go at least 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12, at least 4 hours. So plenty of time for the bits to be woven in amongst
Depending on how many videos worth he chops up for us, we'll either be doing it every hour or every half hour.
Right. And knowing James, probably every half hour. But I'm looking forward to it, man, because I've not done a New Year's show, like at New Year's I don't think I've ever done that live.
No.
Definitely not live. And then, of course, the next day I don't have the graphic ready because I don't have my schedule yet. I think I'm schedule for New Year's Eve. We'll see how that lays out. But it will be the anniversary of the network. So I can't, Lord, it's hard to be humble, but I do try. 3 years in, man, bananas. It's crazy. Going on 4. Yeah, that's it. Pretty soon I'll be up to Jeff Jarrett level. Like a 4.
Right.
Right, Mikey T? Anyway,
Mikey T, acknowledge him.
That's right. Ain't he great?
Just like Josh Mansfield this week had to acknowledge Mr. A-Town down.
Didn't we get him enough last week and the other night open mic night? God damn, poor Josh.
I'm sorry. That still tickles me. Like, I went onto Instagram that evening and I saw the video that WWE in Theory had posted where he's like, see this? Cry about it.
That's it.
I sent it to Mansfield. I had to. I had to.
That was a rough day for Josh anyway, man. Ohio State got their butts whooped. It was a rough day.
But I can't do that too much because it'll get me on the naughty list, and we don't want that. So, what did you guys think of our top 10 Santas? Let us know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over there next to Meacham. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here in the comment box below. Subjectivity is key, as always. But who do you think has done a tremendous portrayal of the man in red that we forgot? Let us know. We may have to reconsider and amend our list somewhere down the road, as Barry Manilow would say.
Oh, Barry Manilow reference. Look at you with a draw from left field. I dig it.
I've used that a few times on the show when it fits. I try not to work it in there all the time like a catchphrase or something, but every now and again the opportunity presents itself to just slide that in there.
Yes.
I was already thinking today after I dropped the kids off at school what we can do next year, because we're pretty much all Christmased out.
This is fair.
We've done top 10 Christmas songs, we've done Christmas movies, we've done Christmas specials, we've now done portrayals of Santa Claus. But I had an idea. Top 10 songs about Santa Claus.
Ooh, that could be fun. I dig it.
It'll be a collaborative because I have a feeling that, once again, there'll be a lot of, synergy and coming together and just too many of the same songs. But you figure you got like Up on the Housetop. Here Comes Santa Claus. Santa Claus is coming to town. Little Saint Nick. There's a bunch of them out there that are just Santa specific. Santa Baby. So if you guys want to see us next year discuss the top 10 Santa songs, leave some love in the comment box. Go back on Jeff's channel and do the little, I forget what it's called, but where you can basically do like the little super chat like and send some money in a like.
I don't remember what it's called either, but do that.
But do that on Jeff's channel.
Yes, please.
Show the love, since we are a pre-taped show. It'll show us that you want us to continue talking about Christmas, because after that, I think it's pretty much run its course and going to have to loop around and do another top 10 Christmas movies where we can't use the ones we already did.
That's right.
We got to talk about other shit now.
Yeah, we redone Friday and next Friday. Now do Friday after next. We just have to keep on going and figure it out.
Pretty much.
But I want to, before we sign off, I want to thank our sponsor for today, Jay. The Rose Subject Letter Company, for their amazing business card holder. So thank you, the Rose Subject Letter Company. We appreciate your business here on the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiversal Media. And just remember, if something happened to us, put on the coat. The reindeer will know what to do.
And I'd also like to thank you, the Nondescript company that sent me this nice white chocolate peppermint hot cocoa that I have been enjoying throughout the presentation.
Yes. As well as Jolly Holiday for their incredible gingerbread cookies. And whoever makes this cocoa, this is superior.
I think I heard that a young lady named Judy made that.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me in the
She's
slightest.
had 10,000 years to master the recipe, so
Hey, you know what? Just right. Not too hot. Extra chocolate. Good stuff.
there you go. So we'll see you numerous times throughout the month, but since this is a Christmas show, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for supporting us throughout the year.
Thank you.
For the West Coast Professor, Jolly Old JM, I am the Renegade JJ Kringle. Thank you for tuning in today, and we will see you guys next time.